Mortgage paydown. What is it and why is it important? If you are a real estate investor or if you know a real estate investor, you may have come across the concept of mortgage paydown. Now, again, if you're somebody who's experienced with investing in real estate, you know that this is very elementary. However, if you're newer to investing in real estate, or you're kind of like at an intermediate level, you may not fully grasp or understand like the importance of mortgage paydown. So why am I talking about mortgage paydown now and why is it important? So, right now for investors, for the average investor, it's not an easy time, right? We had seen the decline of interest rates to a historical low, and then we saw the rise of interest rates. So, as such, a lot of investors got stuck. A lot of investors got stuck buying properties, doing the numbers, forecasting their numbers, and anticipating that they would have a certain mortgage payment. But with the rising interest rates, that really threw everything off. So, needless to say, for the novice to intermediate real estate investor, and especially if we are looking at like new construction, it's a mess for you, and you know this. Experienced, advanced investors are always able to weather the storm. They have a differing opinion on what to invest in, and for the most part, they're in a stronger position. But this video is really meant for the newer or intermediate investor and mortgage paydown. Now, you know it's no secret, right? In the Greater Toronto area, if you're in the Greater Toronto area, that the market has been rising, nonstop for a long period of time. But believe it or not, there was a time where the market didn't rise, in a exponential manner. And as a real estate investor back in the day, we used to really focus on mortgage paydown and calculate mortgage paydown. That was part of the equation with running numbers to see, does a property make sense to purchase? Now, not the concept, but the idea of looking at mortgage paydown is coming back again, right? And it's coming back for investors who are trying to determine, do they keep a property? Do they sell a property? Because the astronomical appreciation that was occurring is not occurring right now, and in particular with new construction. So investors are looking at mortgage paydown and doing that calculation. So what is mortgage paydown? It's as simple as that, right? It's the pay down of your mortgage. And in particular, when you look at it from an investor point of view, it's the tenant paying down your mortgage. So, why is it important? It's always important, right? Because, like, as you know, you have a property for X amount of years, 10, 15, 20 years. And if it's a property that is rented out, then obviously that mortgage is paid down by the tenant. X amount over many, many years. But it's increasingly important now, especially with newer construction, with newer investors and with intermediate investors, because the astronomical appreciation is on hold. So as such, one has to look at different metrics on a particular investment to see, like, does this investment make sense to hold long term? And that's why it's important, right? It's important because an investor needs to see, should I keep this property or should I not? Should I sell this property? If it's a negative cash flow, if it's new construction, if you're in a major urban center like Toronto, and if you're losing four, five, six, $700, $1,000 a month on negative cash flow, do you look at mortgage paydown and do you use that to kind of perhaps maybe justify or perhaps maybe give you another angle to look at to see, does it make sense to keep? Okay. Now, from a high level, I'm not going to go into like really granular stuff with regards to like how to calculate it, but I just pulled up a mortgage calculator and I just kind of want to show you some numbers over here. So if you look in this column over here, the last column, I just did a purchase price of 488,000 in Toronto, a 25% deposit, which is 122,000. That gives you a mortgage of 366,000 over 25 years at a 6.69% interest rate. Seems a little bit high for today's numbers, but this is actually one of my properties here that I'm running the numbers on. and 6.69 was a rate that I got in January of 2024 with a B lender. So just showing you kind of numbers on here. So monthly mortgage amount $2,494, right? So mortgage pay down, right? Like it's important to look at because on this particular property here, and I don't mind sharing, the numbers because this is the reality for a lot of investors, right? When interest rates went up, we got just caught in things. So this particular property here, drum roll, is negative $700 a month on a monthly basis, and the value of the property has dropped. It was purchased for $488,000 in 2018, and the market value now in 2025 is about $445,000. So it's a massive, massive loss on paper. If I were to sell this property, I would obviously, take the entire loss right away. But the fact that I'm not selling it, I'm not incurring the loss. The loss that I'm taking is on a monthly basis at negative $700, and this is not uncommon. Like I have numerous clients that are in these situations, right? And I think for them, the people that are able to hold the properties are holding the properties, and then the people that financially can't hold them are selling them, even though they're selling them at a massive, massive loss. So that's the situation with this one. But what I want to show you why mortgage paydown is important is when you're calculating the numbers on this particular property. And I had a client that I was talking to who has 4 condos in Toronto, and he's calculating mortgage paydown. Is he's looking to offset his negative monthly cash flow. So, for example, in this case, let's say that on that particular property that we know is negative $700 per month, right? Let's say your mortgage principal pay down in a given year is $4,500, right? So that's your principal pay down, right? And as we know, your mortgage payments are principal and interest, right? But if you use a mortgage calculator, you're able to calculate, how much is your actual principal pay down. So if we look at the principal pay down, and if it is $4,500 per year, right? We take that over 12 months, divided by 12, and that gives us $375. So the old school real estate investor would factor that in, the $375, right? So if you factor that in, you take your negative 700, right? And you factor in the 375, and that means when an investor is kind of like looking at things in terms of, is it viable to hang on to this property for the long term, right? If it's in downtown Toronto, for example, everybody knows that the market's turned again and that things will stabilize, especially in a city like Toronto. So it really comes down to the staying power of the individual. How long can they hold on to this property, and how much is it costing them, right? And if they can't do it, they have to bail, right? Which is okay. But if they're able to hold on, do they want to, number one, and how can they justify holding on? So in this particular case, if you factor in your mortgage pay down with your negative cash flow, it gives you a negative number of 325 per month. So that's how some investors are looking at this situation, right? It's a grim situation. Like that's the reality of what happened with the condo market. So this is how kind of people are looking at things and weighing things to see, does it make sense to hold this property for the medium term, for the long term, until things come back, right? In downtown Toronto, right? Who knows how long that is, right? Or does it make sense to bail and get rid of the property? So mortgage paydown is an important concept with real estate investing. It always has been, it always will be, but the idea of it and calculating it is coming back again because investors are looking to see, what do I do with these properties? Do I keep them? Do I sell them? And they're trying to really run the math and the numbers to see, is it justifiable to hold this property, or should I sell it, even I'm selling it at a massive loss. So that's the video for today. Hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave in the comments, or my contact information is around here somewhere. You can send me a message anytime. Okay, all the best. Take care.